Welcome back. We will be continuing here with our tier list deep dive of the Paladin subclass. Today we're going to be looking at the goods, the good stuff, starting at B tier and ending with, of course, what I consider to be the best subclass here of the Paladin in D&D 5th edition. So let's not keep you waiting. Let's get right on into it here. With our very first B tier subclass of the Paladin, we have the Devotion Paladin. When you take this oath at 3rd level, you gain the following 2 Channel Divinity options. 1. Sacred Weapon. As an action, you can imbue one weapon that you are holding with positive energy. For a minute, you get to add your Charisma modifier to attack rolls with that weapon. Not damage, just attack rolls. The weapon also emits bright light in a 20-foot radius and dim light for another 20. So if you have a DM that constantly is using light against you, this is a great way to kind of solve that problem without having to carry around a torch. If the weapon is not already magical, it becomes magical for the duration. You can end this effect on your turn as part of any other action. If you are no longer holding or carrying this weapon, or if you fall unconscious, this effect also ends. The second thing you can use this Channel Divinity for is to turn the unholy. As an action, you present your holy symbol and speak a prayer, censuring fiends and undead using your Channel Divinity. Each fiend or undead that can see or hear you within 30 feet must make a wisdom saving throw. If the creature fails, it is turned for 1 minute or until it takes damage. A turn creature must spend its turn trying to move as far away from you as it possibly can, and it can't willingly move to a space within 30 feet of you. It also can't take reactions. For its action, it can only use the dash to try to escape, or the dodge action if it physically has nowhere else to go. Great ability, it's solid, but I'm going to give it the same kind of critique, this second part, the same kind of critique that I gave the Oath of the Watchers, which is this is very specific. This only works with Fiend and Undead. However, if you're playing, say, something like Curse of Strahd, I have the oddest feeling that this is going to be a very, very useful Paladin. And I find that Undead is a very common type. It's a very common monstrosity type. So that's why I feel this is so much better than Oath of the Watchers. Alright, 7th level. You and a friendly creature within 10 feet of you can't be charmed while you are conscious. At 18th level, the range of this aurora increases to 30 feet. This is why this is B tier and not A tier. Or you just play an elf or a half elf and you just can't be charmed. How about that? But I guess, you know, this is also meant to help protect your party members. So I guess it's decent, but very situational and has a very easy fix if you would like to. Alright, Purity of Spirit. Beginning at 15th level, you're always under the effects of protection from evil and good. This means that things like Celestial, Fae, Fiends, Undead, etc., etc., they have to make a saving throw if they wish to attack you, and if they fail, then they just don't get to do it. This is a fantastic ability, and the fact that it isn't... I forget what I believe it is the monk, the Way of Mercy monk, where you have Sanctuary on yourself. Unlike Sanctuary, where it only works until you do something, which you would no doubt eventually do, this says that you are always under the effects. Not you are always under the effects until it would normally be broken. This says you are always under the effects of protection of good and evil spell. Which means this never goes away. Fantastic ability. Alright, Holy Nimbus. At 20th level, as an action, you can emanate an aurora of sunlight. For 1 minute, bright light shines from you in a 30-foot radius, and dim light for another 30. Whenever a creature starts its turn in the bright light, the creature takes 10 radiant damage. In addition, for the duration, you have advantage on saving throws against spells cast by fiends or undead. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. This is good. It's B tier good. I wish that it had some more things going for it. I wish that, you know, again, you could use it again if you had, you know, if you expended a certain spell slot or higher. I wish that the light range was a little bit differently. Like, why can't I you know, extend my range out to 60 feet simply because if I'm fighting something... Well, I guess it does say, in addition for the duration, you have advantage on saving throws against spells cast by fiends or undead. So it doesn't really have a radius at all. So no, this is a solid B tier ability, which is why this class, this whole subclass, is B tier to me. It is decent. I feel like most campaigns have enough undead, have enough fiends, have enough charming effects. You know, you'll fight enough things where protection of evil and good would be a constant thing This is good, but it is still situational enough that I just cannot put it into my A tier. Speaking of A tier, we're going right on into it. A tier, we have the Ancients, Oath of the Ancients Paladin. Alright, you got 2 Channel Divinities. You have Nature's Wrath. You can use your Channel Divinity to, if you use it as an action, you can cause Spectral Vines to spring up and reach for a creature within 10 feet of you that you can see. The creature must succeed on a Strength or Dex save, its choice, or be restrained. While restrained by the vines, the creature repeats the saving throw at the end of its turns. On success, it frees itself and the vines vanish. Nothing too crazy. You're basically giving up a turn of damage to try and capture it. So, you know, kind of right? And if it's within 10 feet of you, you know, if it has reach or any kind, it may still get to attack you. It'd be so at disadvantage, but yeah, it's right? However, this class gets very good very soon. Alright, Turn the Faithless. You can use your Channel Divinity to utter ancient words that are painful for Fae or Fiends to hear. As an action, you present your holy symbol, and each Fae or Fiend within 30 feet of you that can hear you must make a Wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, the creature is turned for 1 minute or until it takes damage. We've seen this Channel Divinity in almost every other fucking Paladin, right? You know, Fae, you know, it just depends on which type of things it affects. So in this case, it's Fae and Fiend. They have to use their turns either dashing or taking the dodge action, and they have to either run away from you or try to hide away if they can't physically get any further away from you, and they can't get closer. Alright, Aurora of Warding. This is a god tier ability. This alone makes this fucking class. This makes up for Nature's Wrath being kind of and even Turn the Faithless. You and all friendly creatures within 10 feet, 30 feet once you reach 18th level, gain resistance to damage from spells. Imagine if starting at 7th level, you and your barbarian, you and your fighter, you and your frontline cleric, if you knew that from now on to the end of this campaign, you will always, there's no saving throw, there's no resources used, you just take half on all spell damage for the rest of the campaign. That's fucking amazing. Like this is an A tier ability, solid A tier ability, and the fact that it is at 7th level, this isn't some 15th level bullshit. This is something you will use, and you will use it often. Alright, 15th level, you have Undying Sentinel. When you are reduced to 0 hit points and not killed outright, which means you don't fail all 3 death saves right out of the gate, you instead choose to drop to 1 hit point. Once you use this, you cannot use it again until you finish a long rest. Additionally, you suffer one of the drawbacks of old age. You suffer none of the drawbacks of old age, and you cannot be aged magically. You can definitely tell when subclasses come directly out of the player's handbook, because back then they threw in flavor things, whereas after that, once you go into Xanathar's and especially Tasha's, all it is power gaming. It's how can we make this subclass the best? And they stopped throwing in the cool little flavor text. The flavor abilities where, okay, yeah, like really, do we as D&D players, do we really ever get put into a situation where we would suffer drawbacks from our character aging? I bet you 95% of us not, unless your DM is using some kind of enemy that can, cause you to age. But that's probably not too much. So, but that first part is great. Imagine especially if you went, say, half-orc. Like, if I was a DM, if my player went Ancients Paladin, Oath of Ancients, and was a half-orc, I would let him choose. Because it says you can choose to drop to 1 hit point instead. Which means, first time they do it, the Reckless Endurance kicks in. They pop back up to 1. I hit them again, drop them again. Now they get to choose. Nope, I'm coming back up with one more time. This is, like, all it takes is that, and the fact that, especially after Tasha's, half-orcs, you gain quite a bit of stuff, especially as a paladin. If you're going to be hunting those crits, trying to use those smites to the most of their advantage, like, I don't know why you wouldn't. There's definitely some reasons why, there's some other classes that are just as good, but you see what I'm getting at. This is a fantastic ability. Simple, but good. Alright, Elder Champion. At 20th level, you can assume the form of an ancient force of nature, taking on an appearance you choose. For instance, you might have your skin turn green, or take on a bark-like appearance, or have leafy moss-like, kind of appendages or hair. You might sprout antlers or a lion mane. Using your action, you undergo a transformation. For 1 minute, you gain these following benefits. At the start of each of your turns, you immediately regain 10 HP. That suddenly makes that Undying Sentinel way better. Whenever you cast a Paladin spell that has a casting time of 1 action, you can use it as a bonus action instead. Imagine if you can cast Bless as a bonus action. Imagine if you can cast Cure Wounds as a bonus action. Hey, you're about to get hit really, really hard, or maybe last round you were hit really, really hard. I can cast this healing spell on myself, not use my Lay on Hands, and then turn right around and attack somebody. Fantastic. Enemy creatures within 10 feet of you have disadvantage on saving throws against your Paladin spells and Channel Divinity options. So that means that, hey, you can wind up that, the most powerful smites you can, and when you hit them, they will have disadvantage against the saving throw. However, once you use this feature, you cannot use it again until you finish a long rest. Fantastic. It comes out a little weak. The Nature's Wrath and Turn the Faithless. It's a little. It has some things to be desired, but as soon as you get out of that, the moment you start hitting these other milestones, damn does it get good, and it gets real good real quick. Another A tier. We have the Conquest Paladin. When you take this oath at 3rd level, you gain the following benefits. Either one, Conquering Presence. You can use your Channel Divinity to exude a terrifying presence. As an action, you force each creature of your choice that you can see within 30 feet of you to make a Wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, the creature becomes frightened of you for 1 minute. The frightened creature can repeat the saving throw at each of its turns, ending the effect on a success. Now, this is more vague, all right? This is you choose a creature. It doesn't specify which, up till now, a lot of the Paladins have had, all Fey and Fiend, all Fiend and Undead, all Celestial Fey and Aberrations. This was just a creature, which is nice that, hey, it doesn't matter what you are. If I see you, I can use it. However, they are only under the Frightened condition, which I believe is that they just cannot get any closer to you, and if they can see you, then their attacks are at disadvantage. The ordinary Frightened condition, they do not have to spend their action dashing or taking the dodge. So it's better in one case, it's worse in another. Alright, but this is the one I feel like most people use this for. Guided Strike. You can channel your divinity to strike with supernatural accuracy. When you make an attack roll, you can use your channel divinity to gain a +10 to this roll. You make this choice after you see the roll, but before the DM says whether the attack hits or misses. This is just like the war cleric's channel divinity. This one though is in my opinion better because of the fact that this comes back on short rest, much like the other one does. However, this one is going on to a paladin. A paladin, I find, is going to be far more likely to take one of, in my opinion, the best melee feats you can, which is of course Great Weapon Master. This is something you take with Great Weapon Master, so that not only are you almost guaranteed to get a smite off on someone, but now you also get that sweet, sweet +10 damage. This is a fantastic option, and I bet you this is the one you'll be using your Channel Divinity for most often. Alright, Aurora of Conquest. Starting at 7th level, you constantly emanate a menacing aurora while you are not incapacitated. The aurora extends 10 feet from you in every direction, but not through total cover. If a creature is frightened of you, such as using your Conquering Presence, its speed is reduced to 0 while in that aurora, and that creature takes psychic damage equal to half your paladin level if it starts its turn there. I guarantee you if this paladin came out in Tasha's, it would be your full paladin level at the start of its turn, but hey, we won't talk about that. At 18th level, the range of this aurora increases to 30 feet. This isn't bad, and it could come in handy. If you are, especially if you're fighting something that has a lot of movement speed, maybe has the mobile feat or something similar, and it's just kind of bouncing around the battlefield, this could be a nice answer for that. But the fact that until you get to 18th level, the fact that you have to be within 10 feet of this creature, the fact that you then have to cause, a way for it to be feared, which means probably through your Channel Divinity, and let's be honest, most Paladins' Channel Divinity DCs are not too crazily high. It's not bad, but it's not great either. This is one of the weak points of this class. Alright, Scornful Rebuke, starting at 15th level. Those who dare to strike you are physically? I think it's psychically? we'll say psychically, why not? Psychically punished for their audacity. Whenever a creature hits you with an attack, that creature takes psychic damage equal to your charisma modifier if you're not incapacitated. This is nice. This is just a nice steady stream, and the reason this is nice, and the reason why I say that this is fucking way better than like the 2d8 plus something as a reaction, is because this isn't using anything. It's not using a damn thing, and there's no range. It's not like, hey, if a melee person hits you, it's like, oh great, I get to do a couple points of damage and you hit me for fucking 40. You know, like, okay, like I'm gonna have to leave this area pretty soon and this ability is gonna be worthless. No, this says whenever a creature hits you with an attack. That means spellcasters. That means range. That means melee. That means everybody. Anyone who hits you takes psychic damage. This is great, especially if you're dealing with something that does, like, say, 4 attacks in one round. Great, let him fucking hit you. By 15th level, I bet you your wisdom is... I bet you your... Not your wisdom. I'm sorry. I think I've been using wisdom quite a bit here. You know, Paladin doesn't use wisdom. Fucking charisma is their stat. I'm gonna be fucking... I'm gonna feel so upset because I think I've been saying wisdom this whole time. A Paladin's charisma DC... You know, their charisma stat is usually like a 4, maybe a 5 at 15th level, but, you know, I bet you on average it's probably closer to 4 unless you've rolled your stats and rolled really, really well. So, you know, it may not sound like a lot, but if you get hit, say, 4 times in a single round and it didn't use your reaction or nothing, that's 12 points of damage, 16 points of damage just instantly. Every round. And you don't have to do anything. This is a great ability. Alright, Invincible Conqueror. At 20th level, you gain the ability to harness extraordinary martial prowess. As an action, you can magically become an avatar of Conquest. Here are the benefits you gain for 1 minute. 1, you have resistance to all damage. All damage. Everything. When you take the attack action on your turn, you can make 1 additional attack. So you get to attack way more times, which means you get a whole other crit. You know, crit opportunity. It means that you know, there's nowhere that says you can only smite on certain turns. Fuck it, if you're carrying around a big-ass weapon, fucking you hit that bitch. You hit that bitch 3 times. You smite every single time. This, at level 20 Paladin, can, in 1 round, deal hundreds of points of damage. This is how they can do it. Speaking of which, your melee weapon attacks score a crit on a 19 or 20 now. So you've doubled your chance of critting. However, once you use this feature, you cannot use it again until you finish long rest. So, great. It is very combat-oriented. This is an extremely combat-oriented Paladin, but damn is it a fun-looking Paladin. This is a Paladin that I would love to play, especially at higher levels. Alright, staying here at our A tier, we have the Redemption Paladin. This is if a Paladin decided that it also wanted to be a cleric, but not, you know, give up any of its smiting ability. At 3rd level, you get your beautiful, wonderful 2-channel divinity options. Number 1, you can make it as a bonus action and grant yourself a +5 to any persuasion checks for the next 10 minutes. Hey, look, a channel divinity that could actually be used outside of combat. Immediately dig it. It's not maybe the best, it's not the craziest, but it's not bad. Or we can use the Rebuke the Violent. You can use your channel divinity to rebuke those who use violence. Immediately after an attacker within 30 feet of you deals damage with an attacker against a creature other than you, you can use your reaction to force the attacker to make a wisdom save. On a failed save, the attacker takes radiant damage equal to the damage it just dealt. Imagine your little squishy wizard is about to get just absolutely pummeled by a hill giant. And the hill giant does like 20-something points of damage and almost downs your wizard friend. And then you make it make a wisdom save, and it fails. And then it takes 20-fucking-something points of radiant damage. Like, I love that image. And the fact that even on a successful save, it takes half. I love it. I dig this. You know, now all of a sudden crits. Now all of a sudden you make your DM not want to crit so much. Because if a DM, you know, because your DM's going to crit, and he's going to know, oh, shit, you know, my enemy's about to get hit real hard by his own attack. Alright, 7th level. We have Aurora of the Guardian. You can shield your allies from harm at the cost of your own health. When a creature within 10 feet of you takes damage, you can use your reaction to magically take that instead. This feature doesn't transfer any of the effects that might accompany that damage, so, you know, they might still end up getting blinded or poisoned or deafened or, you know, etc., etc. But it is what it is. And this damage cannot be reduced in any way. So, by my understanding, if you multi-class into, say, Barbarian, you cannot reduce the damage by half. By my understanding. Now, I will say that the downside to this is that this creature does have to be within 10 feet of you. Which means odds are the only person you're going to be sharing this with is like the fighter or paladin, like another paladin or barbarian, etc. But still, this could end up saving someone's life. Alright, Protective Spirit at 15th level. Holy Presence mends your wounds. You regain hit points equal to 1d6 plus half your paladin level if you end your turn in combat with fewer than half your hit points. So basically, as soon as you drop to below, half of your HP, fucking you just start healing. And at 15th level, I do not think it doesn't say rounded down or up. So at 15th level, I guess that would come down to your DM, how they would word this, if you would regain 8 HP or 7 HP at 15th level. But even then, 1d6 averages a 3 plus, 3.54, but, 3 or 4. That plus 7 or 8, fucking 12, 13 HP at the start of your turn, every fucking turn, as long as you're below half HP. Like, this is the perfect opportunity to take, like, the tough feat. Maybe even fucking take it multiple times. Just have this huge fucking HP pool so that this ability just keeps feeding you. Really great ability. Can really help save your ass. Especially so that it helps out your Aurora of the Guardian. Alright, Emissary of Redemption. 20th level, you become the Avatar of Peace. But you're not going to really be it because you're going to be absorbing a shit ton of damage, being a real big bloody mess quite often. But hey, you're going to be helping out. Number 1, you have resistance to all damage dealt by other creatures, their attacks, spells, and other effects. When a creature damages you, it takes radiant damage equal to half the amount it dealt to you. All the time. And that does not, as far as I know, that does not go up against your Rebuke the Violence. You can add that on top of this. And if you attack a creature, cast a spell on, or deal damage to it by means but this feature, neither benefit works against the creature until it finishes long rest. So basically, if you attack a creature, cast a spell on it, or deal damage to it by any means but this feature, neither benefit works against that creature. Okay. Sorry, I had to reread it because it for some reason my brain read it and it didn't comprehend it. Basically, it means that if you use this ability and then hit it, you cannot use this ability again until you've basically gone, until you have finished a long rest to do so. So basically, pick an enemy and say, hey, for this enemy, the only way I'm going to hit it, or the only thing I'm going to do to attack to it, is using these abilities. I will not attack it with my weapon. As long as you don't attack it with your weapon, you can continue to be resistant to damage, and you can, continue to deal damage to it equal to radiant damage. I would maybe even ask the DM if I could still use the Rebuke the Violent with this, because it kind of has the same vibe. Maybe up to them, but still, great paladin option. The fact that you're able to maybe save a couple of allies here using your Aurora of the Guardian, it's solid A tier. Alright, which of course leaves us here to our last one, our final oath. Now, if you are someone who is familiar with the Paladins, then you might be looking at yourself going, oh, well, what about the Oathbreaker Paladin? What about the whatever Paladins that's in, the other books? My problem is that I've read through the Oathbreaker Paladin, and it is a Paladin that I just, I don't, if you're going to go with a Paladin, to me, the Oathbreaker Paladin should no longer be an Oathbreaker. It should be a fighter. It should be something, it should be another class entirely. Because the whole point of the Paladin is supposed to be like this, this holy warrior, right? Like this warrior who gets their power from the gods that they fight for. Also, I don't know how often players have the ability to look through the Dungeon Master guide, the DM's guide, and even know that the Oathbreaker exists. So I'm not going to put it here on my list. But Vengeance Paladin, S tier. This is the Paladin that I find most people generally fucking play. Alright, abjure your enemy. As an action, you can present your holy symbol, speak a prayer of denunciation using your channel divinity. Choose one creature within 60 feet of you. The creature must make a wisdom saving throw. unless it's being, immune to being frightened. Fiends and undead have disadvantage on this save. So not only can I use this on anybody, but in my opinion, 2 of the more commonly formed enemies, especially undead, have disadvantage on it. On a failed save, the creature is frightened for 1 minute or until it takes any damage. While frightened, the creature's speed is 0. It can benefit from any bonus to speed. On a success, the creature's speed is halved for a minute or until the creature takes damage. So this is a really good little crowd control. Hey, you're really big and bad, but you're fucking, 40 feet, 30 feet away from me. I don't want you to come any closer and hit me with that big fucking mace, so I'm going to lock you down over there. We'll get to you when we get to you. Great ability. Or, and this is probably what you're actually going to use your Channel Divinity for, Vow of Enmity. As a bonus action, you can utter a Vow of Enmity against a creature you can see within 10 feet of you. You gain advantage on attack rolls. And it happens like that for 1 minute or until it drops to 0 hit points. You just get advantage. No concentration, no nothing. You get it once every short rest. Let's be honest, this is why you win Vengeance Paladin. Alright, Relentless Avenger. By 7th level, your supernatural focus helps you close off foes' retreat. When you hit a creature with an opportunity attack, you can move up to half your speed immediately after the attack as part of the same reaction. This movement does not provoke opportunity attacks. So basically, if someone tries to leave and provokes that opportunity attack, you can then move up to your movement speed immediately into some other location, into a better position. It's good. Any ability that, in my opinion, that lets you move, not have to cost anything, such as meta magic points or key points or anything. It's just, hey, here's something, you get to do it, even if you're doing something else. I love it. And I am a big battlefield controller person. So I like that this, helps you get into a better position. Alright, Soul of Vengeance. Starting at 15th level, the authority with which you speak your Vow of Enmity gives you greater power. When a creature under the effect of your Vow of Enmity makes an attack, you can use your action to make a melee weapon attack against that creature, guaranteeing that you get that attack of opportunity. I'm all about it. And giving you a whole other opportunity, a whole other chance of casting a smite. Alright, Avenging Angel. Here we go. 20th level, Capstone. What's it got for us? You can assume the form of an angelic avenger. Using your action, you undergo a transformation. For 1 hour, you gain these benefits. 1, you get a flying speed of 60 feet. Fucking love it. You emanate an aurora of menace in 30 feet radius. The first time an enemy creature enters that aurora during its turn in battle, the creature must succeed a wisdom saving throw or become frightened for 1 minute or until it takes damage. Attack rolls against the frightened creature have advantage. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. Kind of right, for a 20th level. Don't get me wrong, getting a fly speed alone, fantastic. Love it. Paladin with wings. What is more iconic than that, right? The second part, though, is kind of And the reason why it's kind of is because it specifically says the first time an enemy creature enters the aurora or it starts its turn in battle there, the creature must succeed a wisdom save throw or become friend for 1 minute or until it takes damage. So basically, it enters, it fails, you hit it, and now it's succeeded. But I guess it doesn't, and this is something you and the DM might have to come down to an understanding about, because it does say the first time an enemy creature enters the aurora or starts its turn there. So it may very well enter, fail, you hit it with that advantage because it's technically frightened, and then when it comes back to their turn, they have to make the save again. Nowhere does it say in here that, if they succeed in the saving throw, then they're immune to this ability for the next 24 hours like so many other abilities do. If that's true, then this is actually a really good ability. It's even better than what I thought it was, and I put this bitch into S tier. But I love the Vengeance Paladin. And for the record, I love all Paladins, which is probably why I was so top heavy. I think that, generally, if you haven't noticed yet, if it's a class that I think is good, then they're usually pretty top heavy. We got most of the subclasses will find themselves in a B and A tier, because it's like you can't go wrong. Even the abilities that, you kind of read and you're like, oh, that's pretty situational there, TLC, what are you doing putting it there? It's like, well, yeah, but the Paladin alone is a really strong class. So anything else is just, icing on the cake. But this was my Paladin breakdown, my look through. We kind of really blew through that one, but that's just because I find that Paladin is one of those where they're so good so much of the time that I just don't feel like, we have to sit here and really debate about it. There's some subclasses where I feel like I really got to kind of break down what is good and what is bad about it. But like this one, like we know how good fucking having advantage on all attack rolls is for a minute, right? Like we all, can understand how good that is. Or having a fly speed, or having resistance to spell damage for the rest of the campaign. Like these abilities are so good, I don't feel like there's too much to argue about it. But whatever the case, I will wrap it up here with the Paladin. Next will be the Ranger, which I think we'll have a little bit more discussion about, because the Ranger is a fickle class, and we're going to have to kind of figure it out and talk about it. But yeah, we'll leave it here. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope that it is something that, maybe you walked away thinking, oh, Paladin does sound pretty cool. Or at the very least, maybe I convinced you to play a little more Paladin and a little less Barbarian and Fighter. But whatever the case, I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you next time.